Lymph node. Definition. A lymph node or lymph gland is an oval-shaped organ of the immune system, distributed wide throughout the body including the armpits and stomach and linked by lymphatic vessels. Lymph nodes are garrisons of B, T, and other immunity cells. Lymph nodes act as filters or traps for foreign particles and are important in the proper functioning of the immune system. They are packed tightly with the white blood cells called lymphocytes and macrophages.
Lymphoid organs, such as lymph nodes, have a specialized architecture containing separate T and B cell regions. The architecture of the lymph node begins to be established when stromal cells secrete the chemokine SLC, which attracts dendritic cells to the developing lymph node. The dendritic cells also secrete SLC and a second chemokine, myp3 beta. This combination of chemokines attracts both T and B cells into the lymph node. The separate B cell areas are established by follicular dendritic cells, or FDC. B cells are unrelated to the dendritic cells that are found in the T cell areas of the lymph node, sharing only a dendritic morphology. How these follicular dendritic cells arrive in the lymph node is not known at present. Once present in the developing lymphoid organ, the FDC secrete the chemokine DLC, which attracts B cells from the T cell areas, thus creating a discrete B cell follicle.
Clinical significance. They become inflamed or enlarged in various conditions, which may range from trivial, such as rat infections, to life-threatening, such as cancers. In the latter, the condition of lymph nodes is so significant that it is used for cancer staining, which decides the treatment to be employed, and for determining the prognosis when swollen, inflamed, or enlarged. Lymph nodes can be hard, firm, or tender. Lymph nodes can also be diagnosed by biopsy whenever they are inflamed or tamed. Diseases affect lymph nodes with characteristic consistency and location. Function. The lymph fluid inside the lymph nodes contains lymphocytes, a type of white blood cell which continuously recirculates through the lymph nodes and the bloodstream. Molecules found on bacterial cell walls or chemical substances secreted from bacteria, called antigens, may be taken up by dedicated antigen-presenting cells such as dendritic cells into the lymph system and then into lymph nodes. In response to the antigens, the lymphocytes in the lymph node make antibodies which will go out of the lymph node into circulation, seek and target the pathogens, producing the antigens by targeting them for destruction by other cells and complements. Other immune system cells will be made to fight the infection and sent to the lymph nodes. The increasing numbers of immune system cells Fighting the infection will make the node expand and become swollen. Structure. The lymph node is surrounded by a fibrous capsule, and inside the lymph node a fibrous capsule extends to form trabecula. The substance of the lymph node is divided into outer cortex and the inner medulla surrounded by the cortex and around the septum and the ileum, where the medulla comes on direct contact with the surface. Thin reticular fibers elastic and reticular fibers from a supporting meshwork called reticular network inside the node, within which the white blood cells, the most prominent one being lymphocytes, are tightly packed as follicles in the cortex.
These are called villi. They're found in the small intestine. They're part of the adaptation to small intestine increase in surface area. You can see capillaries here for absorbing many of the nutrients. Over here, though, is a special lymphatic capillary called a lacteal. And that's going to collect lipids and fat-soluble vitamins. You can also see it on this model here, shown in green. Also on this model, you see a lymphatic nodule, part of what we call pyre patches. You find a lot of them, especially in the last part of the small intestine, called the ileum. This is a model of a lymph node. The outer portion, called the cortex, is where we find especially a lot of T cells, cortex T cells. This is the medulla, starting with an M. That's where you find a lot of macrophages. The germinal centers here are where you find a lot of B cells. Notice we have lots of trabeculae. We also have more afferent vessels entering, which you can't see here, than efferent vessels leaving. That means the lymph is going to slow down as it goes through the lymph node, and it gives plenty of time for the lymph node to act on the material going through the lymph. Also, the reticular fibers help trap pathogens and other debris coming in.
Structure. The number and composition of follicles can change, especially when changed by anathema. When they develop a germinal center, a lymph sinus is a channel within the lymph node, lined by the endothelial cells along with fibroblastic reticular cells and allows smooth flow of lymph through them. Thus, the subcapsular sinus is a sinus immediately deep to the capsule, and its endothelium is continuous with that of the afferent lymph vessels. It is also continuous with similar sinuses tracking the trabecula and within the cortical sinuses. The cortical sinuses and that flanking the trabecula drain into the medullary sinus, from where the lymph flows into the efferent lymph vessels. The concave side of the lymph node is called the ileum. The efferent attracts to the ileum by a relatively dense reticulum present there, and carries the lymph out of the lymph node. Cortex. In the cortex, the subcapsular sinus drains the trabecular sinuses, and then the lymph flows into the medullary sinus. The outer cortex consists mainly of the B cells arranged as follicles, which may develop a germinal center when changed with an antigen, and the deeper cortex mainly consists in the T cells. There is a zone known as the subcortical zone where T cells, or cells that are many red, many interact with dendritic cells and there where the reticular network is dense. The predominant site within the lymph nodes which contains T cells and accessory cells. It is known as paracortex reticular network. Medulla. There are two main structures in the medulla. The medullary cores are cores of lymphatic tissues and include plasma cells, macrophages, and B cells. The medullary sinuses or sinusoids are vessel-like spaces separating the medullary cores. Lymph flows into the medullary sinuses from cortical sinuses and into efferent lymphatic vessels. Medullary sinuses contain ichthyocytes, immobile macrophages, and reticular cells. The medulla contains large blood vessels, sinuses, and medullary cores. that contain plasma cells secreting antibodies. Shape and size. Human lymph nodes are being shaped and ranged in size from a few millimeters to about 1–2 centimeters long. They may become enlarged due to a tumor or infection or inflated due to leukemia. Lymphocytes types with white blood cells are located within the honeycomb structure of the lymph nodes. Lymph nodes are enlarged when the body is infected, primarily because there is an elevated rate of trafficking of lymphocytes into the node from the blood, exceeding the rate of outflow from the node, and secondarily, as a result of the activation and proliferation of antigen-specific T and B cells.
The lymphatic system is a complex network of thin vessels, valves, ducts, nodes, and organs. It helps to protect and maintain the fluid environment of the body by producing, filtering, and conveying lymph, and by producing various blood cells. Lymph nodes play an important part in the body's defense against infection. The most common cause of swollen lymph nodes is infection, which might occur even if the infection is trivial or not. Here's an enlargement of a lymph node. To better understand its function, let's take a look at a cut section. Afferent means towards. Afferent lymph vessels bring unfiltered fluids into the lymph node to be filtered. Efferent means away from. Efferent vessels carry clean fluids away from the lymph node and to the cardiovascular system, where it helps form the plasma in the blood. Overall, it works like a biological filtering system. When the body is invaded by foreign organisms, the painful swelling sometimes felt in the neck, armpits, groin, or tonsils comes from the microorganisms being trapped inside collections of lymph cells or nodes. Eventually, these organisms are destroyed and eliminated by cells that line the walls of the lymph nodes. Then the swelling and pain subside.
Lymphatic circulation. Lymph circulates for the lymph node via afferent lymphatic vessels and drains into the node just beneath the capsule in a space called the subcapsular sinus. The subcapsular sinus drains into trabecular sinuses and finally into medullary sinuses. The sinus space is disclosed by the photosis of macrophages which act to trap foreign particles and filter the lymph. The medullary sinuses converge at the ileum and lymph hence left the lymph node via the afferent lymphatic vessels towards either the more central lymph node or ultimately for draining into central venous subclavian blood vessels, most via subcapillary venous and crossed is walled by the process of the apheresis.
The lymphatic system is a network of vessels lying adjacent to the capillaries. It aids the circulatory system in transporting fluids and is a vital part of the immune system. In and around the cells of the body, extracellular fluid collects waste products and carries nutrients and oxygen to the cells. Some of
The B cells migrate to the nodular cortex and medulla. The T cells migrate to the deep cortex and paracortex.